Good evening. We're back with more Lord of the Rings LCG. And tonight is a Shadow of the Past on Nightmare difficulty. This is not an easy quest to play Outlands against because it does punish Allies Swarm fairly harshly in Phase 2. So to play Outlands against this quest successfully, you need to deliberately stay in Phase 1 until you are set up with virtually a full board or something close to that, so that you can handle the Black Rider coming and you will immediately fail the hide test and then he will engage and attack. So you need to be able to handle multiple attacks from any Black Riders in play before moving on to Phase 2 if you're going to play a deck that's heavy in allies. This is a decent setup. The key to this quest is not to quest for more than will cause you to advance to Phase 2 should a blank come on the encounter card, so quest for a maximum of 7 here. But at the same time you do want to clear locations, so that is a very delicate balance. Here I failed the quest and took on threat, and I discarded 3 pretty good Outlands allies, but I'll get them back later with Men of the West. Second turn I get 2 very good tails, so let's see what I get from those. Okay, it's a Hunter of Lamedon and a Chump Blocker. And we'll go ahead the second time. And we'll go with the Ethir Swordsman and the Errand-rider. I think that's most of the copies of Forlong. We'll have to get that back later with Men of the West as well. So this time I'm going to try for quest for 11, hoping for a blank or a no threat card so I can clear Bag End and then clear the other location in the staging area. If anything comes with threat, I won't be able to clear Bag End. And cards could build up in the staging area. It's one of the hazards of trying to stay in Phase 1 in this quest so that we can build a board state. So after a player fails a hide test, discard a hero. That's almost certainly going to happen in Phase 2. Now make a hide 2 test. Each player who fails this raises threat by 5. Okay. So we're still in the questing phase, so Faramir's buff applies. I'll commit a couple of characters to the quest. That'll be 6 total. And so we passed the hide test. And the encounter card does end up being a blank. So having quested for 11, we clear Bag End and can then move to Stockwoods at the cost of a hide test. And that'll be a couple of characters committed to it. Just because I know I don't need them for anything else at this point. And now we're on to the next round. So that went pretty well. With a blank coming on the encounter card, basically. Gives me a chance to continue setting up my board without moving on to Phase 2, which I'm not really prepared to handle because I'd be dealing with 4 attacks from Black Riders. They would engage and attack in the same turn and then attack again in the combat phase. After I fail a hide test, I would certainly not pass due to my large number of allies, unless I'm willing to commit a large number of allies to it. Right now the hide test would be plus 12 in Phase 2. So I'm questing for 9. And the card is going to be ultimately a blank card. No threat added, so I'm going to be able to clear the active location. But I do have to make a hide 2 test, which I pass. And that's going to clear the active location. We're going to have to engage the Nazgul, the Black Rider, this round, thanks to his mount. And he's going to attack one of the Chump Blockers. And do I have enough damage here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, no problem. had some leftover even. So I'm building up resources on Steward of Gondor, which I'm happy to do because I know when Men of the West comes, I'm going to need to get a lot back from my discard pile. There's 3 or 4 guys there I want to get back. And now I'm going to quest for nothing and just take the 3 threat because I don't want to move on to phase 2 yet. So I can move on to Green Hill Country at the cost of a hide test. And I will commit 2 characters to it and pass the hide test. And we'll move on to the next round. So there's a Warrior of Lossarnach and some more resources. So just going to quest for 4 here. And it's a location, so 1 progress. Now while that location's in staging, it's going to increase the hide value of cards. There we go. We'll look for Men of the West. And there it is. It's going to be a big one with 17 resources on Hirluin. So there's going to be 4 guys I want to get back. Forlong, 2 Warriors of Lossarnach, and a Hunter of Lamedon. So I'm just doing some quick math in my head to see if I want to use the secondary function of Heed the Dream or not, and I decide I don't want to. So there's a huge Men of the West. This is going to be a huge turn. I should be ready to move on to phase 2 after this. I later decide that I will use the response on the Hunter of Lamedon, I think. Wasn't too sure about it, but then I decide yes I will. And then I decide yes I will again, and neither of them were successful, just discarded 2 cards. And here I decide to pay for the Hunter of Lamedon with 1 and 1 instead of 2 from Erestor so that I can use the Heed the Dream, but that doesn't end up being very impactful, as I was hoping to find another Outlands guy. Oh well, still a monster turn. So we can go ahead and move on here, as I can now handle a double attack from a Black Rider no problem. And unfortunately it's a Black Rider, and I don't really want to handle double attacks from 2 Black Riders. So I'm going to exhaust the 1 ring and use Frodo's ability here to shuffle that back into the deck, and we get a location. So that's going to clear the active and the phase 1. And we're on to phase 2. I am almost certainly going to fail the hide test here. Would be plus like 18 or something. Plus 19, 21, and an additional card. So it'd be 3 cards plus 21, so I don't even bother committing anyone to it. I just fail the hide test, and then the Nazgul engages me and makes an immediate attack for his forced effect, which I put on a Hunter of Lamedon, and he gets an additional attack after that. My guys all have strong defense with plus 3 from Warriors of Lossarnach. Engages the next player. There is no next player, so no problem on the attacks. Now I decide whether I'm going to move to one of these locations, and I decide not in phase 2 because of the high likelihood of failing the hide test. Of course, I should have discarded Denethor here for failing that hide test, and I don't realize that immediately, but I do realize it. And the attack from the combat phase is going to go on Forlong and then easily take out this Black Rider. So, should be relatively simple to move on from phase 2 here. And any moment I'm going to realize Denethor should have died. So, just going to quest for... I have a lot of willpower available. Going to quest for enough to move on here. And it's a attachment for a Nazgul. There aren't any. And it's another one of those, if you fail a hide test, your hero dies. I don't want that. So I'm going to use the one ring on that one. To shuffle that back into the deck. And it's a Black Rider. I can live with that. So we'll clear phase 2 here, as I just failed the Black Rider's hide test due to not committing anyone to it. There's the hide test, and so he's going to engage and make an immediate attack. With a +3, so that's 8. That's going to kill the Hunter of Lamedon. And now we resolve the quest, and it's going to be plenty of progress to get into phase 3. It's going to add Bokelberry Ferry to the staging area, and Kamal the Easterling as well, which is the Nightmare difficulty part of the quest. Gotta search the encounter card and counter deck and discard pile for Black Rider, and gonna make a hide test. Don't have the penalty of +1 per ally anymore, so I'm actually gonna try on these hide tests now. Should be relatively simple with lots of 4 willpower Outlands allies. Though I do have to make it a hide 3 test with +2, thanks to the 2 locations in the staging area, so that's going to be 4, 5, 6, and I actually failed the hide test. I'm actually only +2 right now with the Ethir Swordsman, so I do fail this hide test, and that is a mistake. I could have committed more characters to it and just been just fine, but I kind of forgot about the locations until after I'd already committed characters and seen the cards. So, fail the hide test, and the Nazgul is going to engage and make an immediate attack, which will go on Hirluin. And Kamal the Easterling should be in the staging area right now. There we go. So, everything's resolved. And I should go ahead and move to one of these locations, I think. Make the hide test. Probably the stock road, I think. I don't know. Could make a case for either one of them. At that point I realized there should have been a 3rd hide card, so I was just taking care of that little housekeeping chore. And as Forlong readies at the beginning of every phase, I can use them in the travel phase for this. So it's going to be hide 3, or hide 2, sorry, it added 1. The location added 1 to what was a hide 1 test. So when you pass a hide test in phase 3, you can add 2 progress to a non-unique location. Kamal the Easterling's going to engage, and I want to take him out right away. So if the defending player has failed a hide test, which I have, the attack is considered undefended. So rip Erestor. And then we've got an attack against Forlong, and with the +2, that will be enough to kill him. And the last Nazgul will attack a chump blocker. So I should still have enough attack power left to take out Kamal the Easterling. 3, 6, 9, 12, no problem. Off he goes. And I shouldn't have drawn 2 extra cards there because Erestor was dead. So actually shouldn't have gotten back Forlong or Hunter of Lamedon here. That would have happened in a round or two. Did just have the Ethir Swordsman, so let's see. Don't believe that's actually going to impact the game at this point. So at this point I would have quested with a warrior of Lossarnach instead of Forlong, who should have been exhausted. And it's going to be a hide 2 test. No problem with each of my guys generating 5 willpower or 4 willpower. So it's actually going to be hide 3 thanks to the active location. And none of them generate any threat, so the hide test is passed, and as per phase 3 of the quest, that means I'm going to clear the other location from the staging area. And that clears the way to move to Buckleberry Ferry this round, which requires a hide 3 test. So that's going to be 4. Now I would have, let's see, 4, 8. So I needed to exhaust someone else. Let's see at the end of this round if my mistake impacted the game or not. Drawing extra cards when I shouldn't have because Erestor was actually dead. So that's 3 exhausts that I needed. So what should have happened at this point in the game, Forlong should not be on the table, nor should that Hunter of Lamedon who just defended an attack. The other Hunter of Lamedon would have defended the attack. Then I would have used 1 Hunter of Lamedon to quest, Hirluin to quest, one, 2, 3, and then likely 2 Anfalas Herdsman, so I'd have left at this point 3, 6, 9, 10, so I should have enough to take out 1 Nazgul, but not both. That's how the game would have been impacted if I had not made the error. And as I'm going to win next round, that's not going to matter. So I shouldn't have been able to kill this second Nazgul, but that doesn't affect anything, because all I need is 9, and the Nazgul isn't going to impact that at all. So ultimately, the mistake at that particular point in the game isn't going to matter, given the board state that I had. And that will end the game. So, this is a difficult quest for ally swarm decks, unless you hang around in phase 1 until you're set up really well, and then it goes okay. So, thanks for watching.